Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Farris, how long have you been buying rental properties for?
Since October 2018, so it's been 2 years and about 2 months right now. Currently, I own 37 units in Northwest Indiana between a couple towns, so Cherville, Munster, and Crown Point mainly.
To go from one rental to 37 rentals in just 2 years is really impressive, but what really impresses me is that he's making $15,000 a month net after all of his expenses. On the show today, Farris is going to go over the books and show us exactly how he's getting to $15,000 a month. And more importantly, he's going to share with us how he did this. Let's take a really quick break. We'll come right back and we'll meet Farris Gosea. The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified, and I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Being a landlord just became a lot easier thanks to Tenant Cloud. They have everything you need to manage your rental properties all in one place, from taking online applications to creating custom leases specific to your state and collecting rent online. And this is really cool. They actually have local contractors in your area to help you when you have a repair call. That's right, contractors in your area that are there for you when you need them. Everything is right there, all in one place. How much does it cost? Well, this is crazy. It's totally free to sign up. It's not a trial. It's free forever. They do have some paid plans, but it's totally free to sign up and get started. Just go to tenantcloud.com. That's Tenant Cloud, C-L-O-U-D, tenantcloud.com. Farris, let's start things off by talking about your numbers. So you said you have 37 units. How much rent do you bring in between all your rentals?
The gross on a monthly basis is $40,000.
Okay, and let's talk about your expenses and your kind of your fixed expenses. So say your mortgage. Let's start there. How much is your mortgage or your mortgage payments every month?
So the mortgage payments, including taxes, insurance, water bills, HOA bills, stuff like that, those expenses are around $22,500 a month.
Okay, so that's all your fixed expenses. And then what about for repairs? How do you budget for repairs? Is there a usual amount that you spend every month on repairs?
Yeah, I try to budget around $2,500. I haven't spent that consistently as of yet, but again, I've been growing kind of fast, so it's tough for me to put an exact figure on a monthly budget for repairs. If that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So after everything, then that sounds like you've got about $15,000 a month.
Yeah, left over after everything, about $15,000.
Wow, that's incredible! And you've been at this for 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really incredible. All right, well, I want to talk about how you've done this, because I think this is really amazing. So, tell me about your portfolio. What kind of properties are you buying?
So my portfolio right now consists of a few single-family homes, a few duplexes, and about 5 4 units.
Okay, and what I think is really cool about what you've done is a lot of people that have grown really fast that we've had on the podcast have used the BRRRR strategy, or they're fixing up properties, but that's not what you're doing at all, right?
No, that's not what I'm doing. Haven't done any kind of refinancing, cash out, just a straight loan, 25% down. We did do one FHA loan, which was nice, with 3.5. But other than that, we've been doing 25 or 30 down with the bank.
Okay, so just regular traditional loans. And the properties you're buying, do they need a lot of work or any work at all?
No, mostly the stuff I've been buying does not need any renovations. They're currently rented out to mostly very good tenants, and it's just, you just buy it and take over the management of that property.
Okay, so you're literally finding the properties, you close on them, and then usually day one you're collecting rent.
Yes, exactly.
That is incredible. Now, the market in a lot of the country has been really hot for the last couple of years, and a lot of people are having trouble finding good properties. Is the market insane in your area, or are these deals out there?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy out here as well. There's only been 2 or 3 properties listed on the market this year that I would have bought, and the 1 6 unit went like 100K over ask, 6 offers. So it's pretty wild. But I do a lot of cold calling. I pretty much called every building in Lake County, Indiana, to kind of source off market deals and just go direct to sellers. So they don't have to deal with realtors and realtors fees. So they mostly prefer that if they do want to sell.
Interesting. Okay, so how do you get the names of the owners? So you're just targeting owners. You've figured out what area you're looking for and the types of properties you're looking for, and you're just calling those sellers directly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
How do you get the information?
So we have a great website in Lake County. They have a good GIS mapping site where you can kind of click around on the buildings and it'll give you the owner's name, information. Also, rionomi.com. That's a fantastic website. It's about 600 a month. My buddy has that. And that'll, you type in a town and it'll give you everything you need. All multifamily buildings, if you want to look at retail, it'll give you that. It'll give you office space. So you can just punch in any town in the country, punch in you want multifamily, and then boom, it'll give you the entire list of, let's say, all 300 multifamily buildings in a specific town in the country. So that's a really great software, and it'll give you their names, numbers, everything. When it was sold, the debt on it. So that's a really great software to find people.
And are you
buy.
screening people that have a lot of equity?
I don't really look into that. I don't really care. Typically, if they've bought it, 2019, 2020, I probably wouldn't call them.
Mhm.
But anyone else, I'll give them a call and see if they want to sell their building.
And what are you saying when you call?
I'm just telling them about myself. That I buy buildings in the area. If they'd be interested in selling in the near future, I actually tell them, I'll give you a premium for it, which is basically, market value right now, but you don't have to pay, the 5% realtors fees. And I'll tell them, as long as it's updated and maintained, because sometimes you go in and you've told them, 350 on the phone, but they haven't taken care of it. So obviously you can't hit that. Typically they don't want to come down, so that's fine. But then, I find the ones that are maintained and really good. No, I'll take those for the price I gave them on the phone.
That's great. So I mean, the market is tight. It's hard to find deals. So you're going out there and you're digging these deals up. I think that's,
mean, it's kind of what you have to do when the market's so tough. It's a great phrase. You're only as good as your worst competition. So
right.
if you got a bunch of idiots offering too much on all these buildings, there's nothing you can really do.
Right. And
apart from target people off market. So.
And it's great because you're probably not competing with other people a lot, right?
Yeah, no, there's no competition. It's great to kind of structure the deal how you need. Like, hey, I need a couple more weeks here. Let's close it over here. Or hey, let me place a tenant in there before we close because that one's vacant. You'll take the first month rent. So it's really nice to not have to deal with the middleman realtors. And I'm a realtor myself, just in case anything does pop up. But it's just great to not have to deal with that kind of middleman situation. And also just, they want to sell, you want to buy. So it works out pretty good both ways most of the time.
How are you financing these properties? Like, how are you, because like you said, you're putting down 25% on every deal. How are you coming up with the down payments?
So myself and my wife, we just save every penny we have. We've lived pretty frugally for the last 2.5 years. I had a very good, got very lucky out of college. I played pro tennis and had a great job working full-time, privately coaching a very kind family and wealthy family. So that was a great start for me. Went from there, coached tennis, working 80 hours a week, and just kind of reinvesting everything we got in the real estate, putting everything in from our jobs. No vacations, no fancy cars, just living in a 100K condo. So just really everything we had, just keep throwing at the real estate. And, I think when you, when you can put your head down and just keep throwing money at it like that, it just pays off in the end.
Do you feel like now it's kind of snowballing where you've got all this cash flow every month that it's getting easier to buy properties?
Yeah, definitely easier than before. But I like to use the word cadence. I would like to pick up the cadence at which I can pick up properties. So right now it's probably every 4 months that I could buy a 4 unit. But I would definitely like to kind of make that a little quicker because I do have a couple guys who would want to sell. Just trying to get the funds in place right now. So probably can't do the next deal until April.
Okay. So let's talk about one of your deals. Tell me, maybe one of your most recent deals. Like, tell me about it.
Yeah. So the most recent one I did, I just closed on Friday, actually. Purchase price was $370, $6,000 closing credit, just to try and bring less to the table. The gross rents on that with coin op laundry, and these rents are a little conservative. You could still definitely bump the rent more. I had 35 applications on one of the apartments at 925, all qualified, pretty qualified people. And the gross rent there is $43.50 a month. That's with coin op laundry. So 3 smaller units at around 900, 925 right now, and the larger unit at $14.50. I pay the water, the gas. There's a HOA of $150 a month, and taxes are around $6,000. Insurance is around $1,700. So after it all, it's in a great location, and it turns out with repairs to be around a 9.5 cap. So for that location, with the economics of that location, great school, it's really tough to find 9 caps selling like that in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
I think just I got a little lucky that I was in Northwest Indiana to begin with, and just kind of saw the opportunity in that area. That I guess not many people know about, because on the market, even if one got listed, it would only sell in that division for around that price. But again, at a 9-10 cap, I would pick those up all day long.
Right. And what is the area like where your properties are?
Fantastic area. I lived in one of those 4 units myself, actually, for 4 months. Very quiet. School is a 9 out of 10 on Realtor.com. The safety is, BA, kind of on niche, very safe area, low crime, just close to everything. So that location is great. And then the duplexes that I buy in Munster, that has a top 15 school in the in the state. And I own 15 kind of single family homes / duplexes over there. So that's just a great area as well. The home I recently posted had 90 applications in 2 days.
Wow.
So just to be picking up to kind of 9 and 10 caps in these kind of areas when you go across the border. I don't know whether your viewers are familiar with Naperville, but they're selling at 5.56 caps. It's just kind of ridiculous, really, with the taxes in Illinois and stuff. But yeah, I guess it's just a little corner that people don't really know about.
Now, where you are right now, I think is amazing that you've got a full-time job, so you've got your basic living expenses covered, and it seems like all of your cash flow, you're using that to reinvest into your portfolio and to continue to grow. And it sounds like you're at a spot where you're just going to be continuing to grow and grow your portfolio. But take me back to the very beginning, like when you first got your very first rental. Like, how did you pull that off?
So the first one I was going to buy, did buy, was a single family home in Munster. I just kind of checked out Realtor.com. Just to preface this, I was trading some stocks, options. I could never stay in the position. So I'm like, man, it's either stocks, it's either own a business, or buy real estate. It's only 3 ways, you're going to really truly generate big wealth. And I was just searching Realtor. I asked my buddy, Dean, you had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He's a great dude to kind of bounce ideas off. And I was like, this home for 100 looks pretty good. What do you think? And he's like, looks good to me. So I went and looked at it, put in an offer, started to go through the bank loan process. And then there was all these fees on it. I'm like, wow, 1,000 for this over here, appraisal, closing fees. I'm looking at like, I'm going to pay $4,000 just to buy this house. So I kind of got deterred from that and went in and bought it cash. And at the time, we had an inspection. There was a couple things I was nervous about. And I told my realtor, I can't do this. Just get me out of this deal. I'm a little scared. And, they ended up doing everything on the inspection response, which wasn't much, at the time. A couple GFCIs, trim some branches, fix a door. But at the time, I didn't know much about anything. So it was all kind of scary to me. So eventually I bought it, got a tenant in there for $1,200. And, I still wasn't on board with the whole real estate thing. But then I was at my job coaching like a 12-hour day. And they came over and they handed me the rent check. And I'm looking at it like, well, I'm going back in to coach tennis for, $30 an hour. And I'm standing here with $1,200 in my hand. What did I do? So that kind of turned me on to the idea of like, okay, let's just buy as many as I can. Like, this is great.
What did you pay for that property?
I paid 100K, and I did a lot of research after that. I actually bought a duplex on the same street, which came up for 180, so 90K a door. And again, research kind of nationally, and I'm thinking, 180 for this area is a credible deal. And actually, I just helped my buddy buy a duplex over there of 2 apartments, not even 2 houses, for 290. So all these ones I've been buying for 100, I could probably sell them right now for 150, 160 a piece. So I think, I got some good deals initially early on.
Right. I mean, this is really incredible. So you bought that first property with cash, and then did you start using like just regular financing for the second property?
Yeah, so then a duplex came up, and I'm like, man, I can't really get this cash now. I got to use a loan, and I'm going to have to pay these fees. But then, once I realized, well, I'm making way more leverage, than I might as well take my money out of that house and do something else with it. Like, Dean was always telling me, hey, man, leverage it. Doesn't matter that it costs you 3K. You're going to make more putting a note on it and going to take that 75 and buying 4 more houses instead of just buying the one.
Right.
So, safe leverage is always great. 25, 30 down, you can't go wrong as long as you buy the right property. So yeah, from there, I was just using typical financing. I didn't end up buying one more home cash, kind of in April that next year. But again, since then I've refinanced everything out. So I do have loans on everything I own right now.
Okay. Wow. So do you see any downside to what you're doing? Because it just, what you're doing just makes so much sense, that you're buying good properties in good neighborhoods, and you're putting down a safe amount, 25, 30%. You're making really good cash flow. Do you see any risk or any downside to what you're doing?
You know what? Like, I was just talking to a guy the other day, and he's like, well, it's tough to kind of talk to someone that sees no risk or downside. I mean, obviously you have risk, right? I mean, a tenant trashes your place, storm hits it, but you have insurance.
Right.
There are inherent risks, but, with COVID, tenants might not pay, kind of thing. But, you could also just lose your job with COVID.
Yeah.
So there's risk with anything. And, if you, want to kind of grow a business and do it, there's always going to be those risks. I just think, I'm trying to mitigate the risks as best I can, trying to buy under market value, buy well-maintained properties with no issues, or, from long-time owners. So I'm trying to mitigate my risk as much as possible. But in terms of the area, there's a train station coming into Muncie that's going to go into Chicago. It's going to, hopefully, almost, I think the figure was a couple billion that they're going to try and put into that whole area along the lake there. So, I don't see much downside apart from, those calls you get about like, hey, you got to repair this. But again, you just kind of factor that into the monthly bill.
Yeah. Yeah. And the downside of a tenant trashing the property, I mean, that's not the end of the world. You just fix it up. So
yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? You go and fix it up. And as long as you screen people well, people with good jobs, 750 credit scores, nice people, it's the risk is really minimal that they're gonna, somehow flip a switch and not pay you and trash your place.
Right.
So,
right.
And especially with the laws in Indiana, they're great in terms of evicting someone in 20 days. And then, where they work, if you obviously try and get someone with a decent job in there, and you just go and garnish their wages. So unless they're moving out of state or quitting their job, you're going to get reimbursed for it. But I've never had anyone come close to trashing a place,
Now, what about COVID? Have you had any tenants that have lost their job or haven't been able to pay?
I had a couple people struggling initially, here and there, and it would definitely have been an issue. However, Indiana had a great program, and this is why I love investing in Indiana. It was $2,000 per renter, and basically there was just an application online. They had to go in and just say, yes, I was affected by COVID. I had to fill out some paperwork, and they just sent me $2,000 for them.
Awesome. Wow.
So I got about 17 people approved on that. So, a couple people in those apartments right now are paying $400 a month, $380 for their rent, and that includes water and gas. So if they were struggling, that really helps them for a 4-month duration to kind of save up some money and get a new job or something. But most of them haven't lost any jobs.
I love it. Well, if anybody wants to reach out to Farris, I've got his contact information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 297. I'd like to thank today's sponsors for making this episode possible. First, I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. If Farris inspired you and you're ready to buy your first rental or you want to add to your portfolio, The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors buy rental properties. She has a ton of different loan programs, and you can find out more, or if you're ready to get started, you can get started today at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com. If you mention Rental Income Podcast, she will waive all the pre-qualification fees. NMLS 42056. I'd also like to thank Tenant Cloud for making this episode possible. If you're looking for leases specific to your state, you want to set up ACH payment for your tenants, or you're looking to find local contractors in your area, you can find it all at tenantcloud.com. That's Tenant Cloud, CLOUD, tenantcloud.com. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We have new interviews every single Tuesday, and if you subscribe, you'll get notified as soon as they come out. My name is Dan Lane, and this is the Rental Income Podcast.